Imagine the city of the future. Building taller, deeper. As technology moves ahead in leaps and bounds, can we learn from millions of years of natural evolutionary progression? Can the designs of our top architects and engineers go pound to pound with the ingenious techniques of nature? As we construct cities for millions of inhabitants, do they shape up to nature's cities for hundreds of millions?
Building a 500 meter, 600 meter, we are nudging towards the unknown, the frontier in engineering.
Which city will lead the way for all cities?
I think Manhattan in 100 years will be dense and beautiful.
Every successful species has always wanted to expand. That's how you survive.
Can we expand beyond the limits of the Earth itself? Wild Tech explores the super colony. Termites have known for millions of years something man has only mastered since the 1930s. One way to accommodate the burgeoning population of any super colony is to build to the sky. For man, the impetus to build is more pressing than ever. Population growth is the world's biggest problem. More than 2.5 million babies are born worldwide every week. If this trend continues, the world population will reach 12 billion within 40 years. The 21st century trend is urban drift. In 2007, for the first time in the world's history, the number of people living in cities will overtake the number of people living in rural areas. The super colony is happening now.
The whole planet is getting more dense. Therefore, each square inch of the planet is more valuable, and therefore, it needs to be utilized in new and different ways.
When it comes to utilizing space, Manhattan Island sets the standard. It attracts people like bees to a honeypot. Every day, millions of people stream into its sea of skyscrapers. It's a living, breathing beast. And if anyone knows how to tame the beast, it's the New York City Commissioner for Buildings, Patricia Lancaster.
You know, the idea of New York as a giant beast is just intriguing, and I think that makes a lot of sense in terms of understanding the city. The city is really composed of cells or neighborhoods that are each unto themselves a world that then together make up the world or the universe of New York.
Patricia is as intimate with the city as any New Yorker could be. She believes if any world city was to become the model of a super colony, New York wouldn't be far off the mark.
It seems to me that the tendency of people to congregate and live closely together is human nature, and that human nature in a well-designed urban space can be actually expanded and made more glorious. If every city were to be designed exactly as Manhattan is designed, the world would be a better place. You know, New York, I think, is the greatest city on earth because it has so much. It has layers and layers and layers and layers of all the things that are good, all the things that are bad, all the people that are rich, all the people that are poor, all the people that are dirty, the people that are clean, simple, complex. We have it all. As the mayor says, it's the capital of the world. People come here and they don't leave. They love it here. And you look around the streets and you see that. It's got energy, it's got depth, it's got breadth, it's got everything.
The one thing New York lacks is space. Land is the most valuable commodity traded in New York because there's just not enough of it. Skyscrapers are the savior of super colonies around the world. Engineering triumphs of technology, creating human space where before there was none. Termite mounds are the skyscrapers of the animal world. Size for size, translate this 20-foot super colony into human terms, and we'd have to build a skyscraper more than 1.5 miles high, with nothing more than our hands. There are no architects, no engineers. Modern building practices and termites do share a common bond. They both require workers to assemble the towers.
There are 120,000 people in the building trades in New York City at any given moment. Of course, it peaks and valleys to a certain extent, but it's still one of the largest industries in the city.
The human skyscraper labor force is skilled and well-equipped. Termites are blind. They carry in their mouths the soil, wood, even their own feces to build the structure, guided by chemical compounds in their saliva, which tells them to keep building. You'd have to hark back to the construction of the pyramids for such an effort by human manual labor. Though comparatively, the pyramids are a fraction of the termite monolith. 10 million occupants working day and night on the upkeep of their skyscraper. And the engineering is ingenious. Tiny tunnels crisscross the surface of the mound like veins on an arm. The tunnel walls are so porous that cool, fresh air can actually leak inside while other gases leak out. This air movement system works so well that the temperature inside the mound is kept stable, perfect for life under the tropical sun. Size for size, nothing man-made comes close to a termite mound. But then again, the 20-foot tall termite structure has fewer pressures to cope with than buildings hundreds of feet tall.
I think that certainly it's possible that New York would build an even higher building than anywhere in the world, as New Yorkers always want to be the best and the biggest and the brightest. Well, if you ask a New York structural engineer, they'd probably say they could build anything, and no limit on height. However, there are constraints, and I guess one of them in New York is that there aren't many large building plots left.
New York may have to look to one of the other great super colonies of the world for the solution to placing more people in less space.
There's a building in Tokyo that's triangle-shaped that no one would ever, it wouldn't have been economically feasible. Nobody would have wanted to do it, but now they have to. They need more land.
This is the shape of the future. The proposed Millennium Tower will be built not on land, but in the harbor. At more than 2,750 feet high, its aerodynamic shape needs to withstand some of the strongest winds in the world, in a country famed for its earthquakes.
Building, 500 meters, 600 meters is a challenge. We are nudging towards the unknown, the frontier in engineering. I think engineers need a challenge, and so is architects need a challenge. And I think that we need to be presented with challenges. Can you build something as tall and as big as that? Okay, can you bring up to full speed now? Thank you.
Kenny Kwok is the man the Millennium Builders turned to when they dreamed of building to the sky. His knowledge of the engineering principles of tall building sway will be vital for the upwardly mobile super colony.
What I'm going to show first is when there's no damper, therefore we have two structures that simulate a building, and you can see without any additional damping, you just have very large motion and it continues for a little while. If I stop that for a minute and introduce the first of these different dampers, this is a twin liquid column damper. The shape of the container and the liquid column are designed in such a way that the liquid will oscillate within the column at the same frequency as the structure itself. Therefore, if I give it a deflection, you can again see that the one with the damper will stop vibrating a lot sooner than the one without the damper.
Already in some buildings, a system called seismic response control actually uses dampers to self-correct a building during earthquakes and strong winds. Vibration is detected, and like a passenger balancing in a moving train, the center of gravity of the building is altered and the building stabilized. There are other problems of building to the stratosphere. Imagine doing this half a mile above ground in gale force winds.
I'd say the most dangerous job on a construction site is ironwork, setting iron, setting connected. You're off the ground, you're in the air all the time on a 6-inch beam. There's a 1,700-pound headache ball swinging at you with a piece of iron on it, dangling from the choker over your head. Anything can happen.
30 deaths a year occur across the U.S. alone from construction falls. Not that that worries an iron worker.
After 10 floors,
it don't make no difference.
It's all the same.
Yep.
Buildings like Millennium are an irresistible challenge.
It's nice.
I think it's
beautiful
nice.
building, sir. Sharp. It's state of the art.
Termites have realized another way to create space is to go underground. Below the surface, the infrastructure of the termite super colony can extend out to 100 yards. Underground water tunnels, freeways stretching out to the foraging grounds, connecting each termite city. In building the super colony, we've only just scratched the surface. The key to creating space for the future colony is not just to go up, it's to dig down.
The underground city is like its own amorphous beast, I guess, that just is ebbing and flowing the same way that above the ground is doing, just below ground. And it has its own rhythm, too. I mean, that's the thing about a big urban dense place, is that it has its own life, and it's always breathing in and breathing out and constantly moving and shifting and growing and disintegrating all at the same time.
Building upwards isn't the only answer for a city trying to create space. Super colonies of the future will need to be clever and think laterally about any available resource. Building big may actually go in the opposite direction. The deepest mine in the world is more than 4 times deeper than the Millennium Tower will be tall. Tunnels are yet to realize their full potential for increasing space in the super colony. New York may be known as the skyscraper city, but life below ground is just as impressive. Most major cities of the world have recognized the need to tunnel under buildings, under roads. It keeps the city moving and creates more space. And nature, too, has brandished tooth and claw to create space where the sun doesn't shine. Coincidentally, the United States is home of the biggest tunnel building projects of both man and nature. Boston's Big Dig is the largest tunneling feat ever attempted by man. But for comparative size, it is eclipsed by the below-ground masters, the prairie dog. On the surface, a prairie dog's town mightn't look like much. But these underground cities can cover hundreds of acres of land through interconnected tunnels and living spaces. One town discovered in Texas in the 19th century covered 25,000 square miles, 100 times the size of Boston, with a population of 400 million resident dogs. Prairie dogs have also realized another advantage of tunnels: rapid transit. And it's this notion which Boston's Big Dig is borrowing.
It's the most sophisticated highway construction project ever undertaken in the United States. All of this construction has been ongoing while the city of Boston has been kept moving.
As Boston advances to become a super colony, its city infrastructure is failing. Elevated expressways designed to carry a maximum of 75,000 cars daily are now trying to cope with 190,000 cars. Its accident rate is 4 times the national average for urban interstates. Traffic jams last for 8 to 10 hours. If nothing had been done, by 2010, the traffic would be jammed in stop-and-go misery for 15 to 16 hours a day, and Boston's economy in tatters. There was no choice but to dig.
We will be allowing Boston to expand economically into the next century. And by doing that, you take the burden off of all the open space that exists around Boston, in the suburbs, in the parks, and make Boston back to the central core of what it was meant to be, the economic engine of the greater region. And if we hadn't done this project, there would have been no future for Boston.
Scale of tunneling is the difference between nature's underground dwellers and man. Animals can build small capillaries through soil. There is little pressure on the tunnel walls. The risk of cave-in is small and easily overcome. Conversely, Boston is building tunnels large enough to move a city. The Big Dig brief for engineers is to keep the city moving while construction takes place, digging under but not disturbing existing infrastructure like railway lines. And, unique to Boston, much of the city is built on landfill, unstable ground. Tunnels could collapse while being dug unless a fail-safe solution was found. The answer? Tunnel jacking. Giant reinforced concrete boxes literally jacked through the earth.
We've actually done the largest jacked tunnel operation in the world, and it was a process of building tunnel boxes and then jacking them under the earth, under actually existing railroad lines, while we kept the railroad lines in service, carrying traffic to and from South Station. Hundreds of thousands of people were in those trains every day, while every day underground we were moving a tunnel box slowly through the earth, several feet a day, for 3 years.
It was overcoming the unstable ground which was a triumph of technology. And like all good solutions, the answer was as simple as it was ingenious.
We had to freeze the earth. This is one of the parts of the project where the soil conditions were the least stable. So the engineers on the project came up with a technique of sending down tubing into the ground, a freezing device that froze the earth so that we could do the jacking without, again, moving those trains that were running above. We have the most sophisticated intelligent transportation network, and by that I mean the camera monitorings, the air quality monitors, the loop detectors that can measure the speed of traffic in the tunnel systems. The ventilation system is the largest ventilation system in the world. We can clear the air out in the tunnel in less than 2 minutes. So our system works.
Ventilation is also an issue for prairie dog tunnels, but they've achieved results with a very low-tech solution. Their burrow entrances are set at different heights. Air traveling over the built-up burrow moves faster to cover the same distance than over a lower burrow. This causes a difference in air pressure, and the slight pressure difference causes air to flow from the lower to the higher. Perfect air conditioning. Where man and nature differ in the underground environment is our ability to live in a tunnel system. Prairie dogs have bedrooms, nurseries, even bathrooms. The only outward sign of the city below is the tunnel entrances. Humans prefer to live above ground, but the space below ground is becoming a valuable resource. Montreal, Canada. What you see above ground is only a fraction of what the city really is.
This is one of the earliest tunnels in the system. It connects the metro and bus lines and so on, which are just in front of me over here. It's strictly for the purpose of getting pedestrians to and fro, and it's part of a system that now stretches 19.2 miles and is in fact the largest in the world.
Urban planner David Brown of McGill University believes the underground city is ideal for the future city, separating people and vehicles.
So the indoor city has taken on really three functions. It's taken on this transportation function to get people from major nodes like metro and train to offices. It's taken on the shopping function, and it's taken on, to some degree, a social function with some of the atriums, arcades, places which have turned out to be quite comfortable to spend a little bit of time in.
One function the underground city hasn't embraced is accommodation. Although a vast, relatively untapped resource, developers have shunned it. Unlike the prairie dog, humans could never call the underground home.
Oh no. No, I wouldn't live in an underground city. It would be depressing to live in an underground city all my life. I think it's very important that we get out of the underground city from time to time, just as we've done now. I think what's very important in planning an underground city, in fact, is to plan it simultaneously with the outdoor environment. And we've categorized that a little bit, like this idea of having an underground city. It's a bit like Swiss cheese, with lots of ways to get in, and lots of ways to get out. We need to be able to see, in fact, outside from the underground city, just to be able to navigate, just to be able to know that this is where we are and this is, in fact, the direction that we'd like to be going in.
Access to open spaces, to the sun, to fresh air. Prerequisites for a successful human environment, which many animals have been able to do without. The other major requirement for a successful human super colony is power. New York, one of the world's great super colonies. 8 million people living and working in a dense environment, dependent on the smooth running of every facility. It's water, it's gas, it's electricity.
New York is multi-layered in its order. In other words, the traffic has its own order. The people, the pedestrians, have their own order. The subways have their own order. The water system has its own order, and somehow it's overmeshed over each other in a way that makes the whole thing work. What happens is, if it untangles, one little thread starts to get pulled, it seems to unravel.
August 2003, and a major thread unraveled.
It'll be okay, hon. It'll be all right.
The electricity grid for Northeast America fails. New York is crippled. A modern metropolis reduced to third world status in seconds. No communication, no services. Buildings cease to function. Work stops. A bewildered city wonders how could this happen in the 21st century? If a super colony has an Achilles heel, it is its reliance on energy.
We have kilovolts of power here, and we're building more because the city is maybe a little bit tight. There's some people that think the city's a little tight on power.
One estimate puts New York's current power needs at more than a little tight. Estimating 5 new power plants are needed by 2008 to keep up with growth. Without power, a super colony dies a slow death of blackouts and political fallout. Every city planner in the world needs to know exactly how to power the future. Many of nature's cities also utilize power, but they look to a source that is more reliable than an electricity grid. This cold-blooded colony of Scottish wood ants has found a way of creating constant temperature through their architecture and ingenuity. The wood ant's mound insulates against the cold. The southern side is always flatter, so it catches more sun. The female ants add more heat to the nest by sunbathing. Before they have a chance to cool, they re-enter the hive, and their warmth radiates in the egg chambers, providing a constant temperature of 74 degrees for the brood. The wood ant heating system means that millions of wood ants have conquered new territory that would otherwise be inhospitable, creating new super colonies and continuing the prosperity of the species. Man's power needs are infinitely more complex than heating a nest. But technology may also look to the sun for the energy needs of the future. Current solar technology relies on the sun's rays to create energy via photovoltaic cells made of silicon. It's expensive and difficult to harness on the scale needed to power a city. Around 0.1% of America's current power comes from solar sources. However, a new technology uses the sun's energy in a very different way.
I think the sun's an insatiable supply of energy. It's something that man has always wanted to harness, and I think that the solar tower is the first real effort of harnessing energy in a large scale. This is purely supplied by the heat of the sun, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day.
Appropriately for the super colony, this technology would require construction of skyscraper proportions.
If you can imagine a tower, 1 kilometre high, standing in the centre of a vast greenhouse, 7 kilometres in diameter.
The solar tower works on the simple principle that hot air rises. Over a large scale, the size and amount of hot air moving within the giant column to the cooler atmosphere above will generate winds strong enough to propel turbines.
The temperature at the top of the tower is roughly 10 degrees cooler than the temperature outside, which would be about 30 degrees cooler than the temperature under the collector. So it creates a massive updraft, which is the engine that drives the turbines. The solar tower itself, when completed, will produce 200 megawatts of power, which is enough to power 200,000 households or a small city.
New York during peak times requires more than 10,000 megawatts of power. That's 50 solar towers. The technology of the solar tower will ease the stress of an overextended power grid, but not necessarily replace existing non-renewable energy technologies. Super colonies need to look to super solutions, which is exactly what the Chinese have done. The most populous nation on the planet is building a controversial dam on a scale few engineers would ever dare contemplate. valleys have been flooded, and millions of people relocated. This is the social and environmental cost the Chinese deem necessary so its megacities can continue to grow. The Three Gorges Dam will stretch more than 1 mile across the ancient Yangtze River, creating a 350-mile-long inland sea. 20,000 people are working nearly round the clock to complete the 2009 deadline. It will become the single biggest power plant on the planet, producing 18,000 megawatts of electricity a day, easily enough for super colonies the size of New York. The question is, can we maintain our humanity while living in a super-dense society? As superstructures become super cities, can people organize themselves to create peace and harmony for the good of the colony? Can megacities maintain order within? In New York, the city behaves like a living, breathing organism. But it can be thrown out of order. A power failure can take out a whole city or state. But even minor events like bad weather, accidents, or strikes can interrupt its smooth flow. For a city to run efficiently, we need only look at the success of social insects. Bees seem to have the perfect formula for controlling a large colony. These worker bees spend their entire lives traveling from their hive to flowers, collecting pollen, and flying back again. From the day they are born, they know their place. Other bees tend the queen. Their roles are clear and concise. And what's remarkable is there is no hierarchy dictating instructions. The bees know collectively how to react to every situation. The queen bee may sound like she's at the top, but in fact she's just another type of worker sticking to the rules of the hive. A colony can be made up of hundreds and thousands of insects, but they behave as if they were all part of a single mind. Their sole life goal is to keep the colony running. At first glance, the model society of bees would appear impossible for humans to emulate. Such a tightly disciplined, regulated society would impinge on individual freedom. In fact, the bee model, with subtle differences, exists in every human society. The closest we come to a closed, organized, and densely populated insect colony is the naval aircraft carrier. This system operates under a strict command.
I'm Captain John Payne. I'm the commanding officer of the Carl Vinson, and I have been for about 26 months or so.
But no captain can demonstrate absolute control by being everywhere on a ship at once. Each crew member knows his place and is drawn to achieve the common goals of the carrier because of a hive mentality in humans that's similar to the bees. But unlike bees, our organization is based on psychology, not chemistry. It's our desire to share in a common destiny. Only if the destiny is unreachable or undesirable does this psychological fabric become unstable.
I want to talk now about the Carl Vinson herself. We're a big ship, 258 feet wide at the flight deck, about 150 feet at the waterline, greater than 30 knots. from the bottom of our keel to the top of our masts, 24 stories tall. If we stood on end, we'd be as tall as the Empire State Building is in New York.
This human hive carries nearly 6,000 men. Like the bees, organization of role is the key to its success. Deck crews are organized into color-coded teams, each with a strict function. Yellow shirts direct aircraft movements. Green shirts operate deck equipment. Brown shirts maintain the aircraft. Purple for fuel, reds for weapons, white is for safety. It may function like the single-minded hive mentality of bees, but the difference is the aircraft carrier is a hierarchy. The captain takes ultimate responsibility for the well-being of his colony.
Although there are many people who have the decision-making capability, I'm ultimately responsible for it, and therefore I'm the one who wants to be here to execute it and make sure things go the way I feel most comfortable.
A bee's role in its colony is regimented for life. Carrier personnel can be promoted up the hierarchy to perform different tasks, and their society is temporary. Tours of duty last months, and there's always shore leave to let off steam. Otherwise, cabin fever can set in.
You're out at sea for weeks, months at a time, not even seeing land. Not even seeing a female, drives them crazy.
I want off.
We have people who are not as able to cope with the stresses as others, and we need to continue to keep our eyes open for them.
It's not just aircraft carriers which can claim bragging rights as super colonies of the sea. At 1,100 feet, the Carl Vinson is bigger than a cruise liner, but 400 foot shorter than the largest ship on the seas, the oil transporter Jar Viking. But even this will be dwarfed by a ship which will be a floating super colony, the Freedom Ship. Plans are underway for this ship that will call the world its home. It will be the first truly international community, a proper floating city-state of up to 50,000 people. At nearly a mile long, Freedom Ship will essentially be a flat-bottomed barge, topped with a 25-story steel building, propelled by gigantic turbine engines. The roof will feature airstrips, and a marina will surround the ship for residents and visitors to dock boats. It's so huge, it would need to be built at sea. It's expected to be launched in 2006. A leisure ship for the idle rich and well-to-do, touring the world every 2 years. Floating cities of the future may be traveling further than just the deep blue sea. Ships in space may help us explore new depths. And human super colonies may expand into whole new worlds. Humankind's expansion to the super colony is the end product of hundreds of generations of territory acquisition and development. The Earth's population is growing exponentially, but the amount of useful land to grow into remains static. In nature, all life is reliant on colonization, taking up new space. Compare a city to a coral reef. Its variety of life spreads into the cracks, finding niches to expand and grow. The New York City of coral reefs is Australia's Great Barrier Reef.
Coral reef environment can almost be compared to like a city environment in that it attracts things because it has places for people to tuck away and to hide. It also provides an amazing array of food, and it just serves as a real sort of mecca to bring things in. It's 1,300 miles long, so it's approximately the distance from Seattle to Los Angeles in the States. And area-wise, it's 35 million hectares, and so that is about 70 million football fields in area, half the size of Texas.
Nothing man-made comes close to its size. But then again, nature has been working on it for a long time.
Well, the underlying basement of the reef is, in the northern section, it's about 18 million years old, and the southern section is 2 million years old. It is the largest reef structure in the world. Astronauts see it, and they describe it as a white line in the blue ocean off the east coast of Australia. And this one's quite unique in that it was built by everything smaller, about the size of your fingernail.
Each summer, on the first full moon, the reef's colonization process begins. Billions of polyps release their sex cells, and the sea swarms with life. Carried by the currents, the cells will land on rock and grow, the beginnings of a new part of the reef. Like any city or species, there are boundaries on its growth. To the north, it's blocked by the deep water channels of New Guinea. To the south, by the colder waters of the Tasman Sea. East is the coast. West, the deep waters beyond the continental shelf. Though enormous, it is in fact a fragile ecosystem bound to its territory. A metaphor for every species on Earth.
Every successful species wants to colonize and grow and take over more resources, be that land or materials or energy.
Al Globus is a computer scientist at the NASA Ames Research Center. To him, the oceans provide a clue to past colonization.
Why did life come out of the oceans onto land? The ocean was a lot nicer. You get all your nutrients, it's just kind of floating around. And yet, uncounted billions of organisms died colonizing land. Colonizing land gave us 50%, us meaning life, 50% more resources than we had in the ocean, maybe.
The leap which nature took to move from the oceans to the land is on the scale of the leap mankind will have to take if we and every species on the planet wants to survive.
It's guaranteed. The star is going to go. The sun is going to die, and when it does, all life on Earth will be exterminated. And before that, if we want to keep life going, we have got to move into space.
The same driving force which put man on the moon will be needed to create super colonies in space. The challenge is to provide oases of life in harsh and hostile environments. In 1991, the crew of Biosphere 2 began a mission to colonize space without ever leaving the planet. In the desert of Arizona, 8 scientists attempted to make their home under a glass dome for 2 years. Once the door was shut, Biosphere became a closed life system, totally self-sufficient. All waste was recycled, all food grown on site. Even the atmosphere was sealed in this experimental capsule of life.
From the point of view of space colonization, it was a huge step forward because it showed us that we can do the closed ecological system. Not only did it show us that it can be done, it shows us more or less how.
Biosphere 2 was judged a failure when declining oxygen levels forced the opening of the sealed hatches well before the 2 years were up.
Biosphere 2 was a very interesting project. It was viewed as a failure, and as a science project it was, because there wasn't good controls and the data wasn't that good. As a marketing proposition, it was a failure because they set their sights too high. They said, we're going to go in and for 2 years we're not going to come out. From an engineering standpoint, Biosphere 2 was a huge success.
Can the lessons learned from this limited and ultimately flawed biosphere experiment expand to be the building blocks of a space colony? More importantly, would hundreds of millions of people be able to live inside a space bubble. Imagine New York on the moon.
Well, you know, New Yorkers are a pretty cantankerous lot, and I think if you put a bubble over them and told them that they couldn't leave, they'd want to leave very badly and break the bubble. You find a whole big percentage of people that leave the island every weekend and come back every Sunday night.
Initially, a small enclosed colony would overcome isolation by settling near Earth, so that the first human colonists in space could return home with relative ease.
Mars and the Moon are the only planets or moons that have opportunity for colonization in the short term because they're close enough. Venus is way too hot, out of the question. Jupiter and Saturn, they don't even have a solid surface. The best place on Mars is much worse than the worst place in Siberia. Much worse. With contrast, orbital colonies have certainly got their problems, but the first thing is you got great views. I mean, what do you want in real estate? Where do you want a place to live? You want nice weather, you want it to be safe, etc., etc.
Current thinking is to build the orbital stations close to Earth. Eventually, these colonies would act like stepping stones across the solar system, taking the human race away from a terrestrial-based society and forming a space-based society.
You might have on the order of a couple million people living in a cluster of 20 or 30 or 40 space colonies, all in orbits where you can easily get from one to the next. You can imagine groups of colonies in similar orbits so you can get back and forth easily. And one of them's got the ski resort, and another one's got the wave machine for surfing, and another one has got, you know, hiking trails a couple kilometers long through the redwood forest. Each colony is separate, so you can have a different flora and fauna, different animals and plants, different ecosystem in each colony. The net result is if you put all the colonies together, you get a sort of super Noah's Ark. If you're trying to build space colonies in orbit, one of the problems you obviously have to face is there's just no materials. It turns out that asteroids have everything you need. They have nitrogen, they have carbon, they have water, they have metals, they have silicon, the works.
The threat of the Earth dying is not imminent, nor high on the agenda of world governments, but it will have to be addressed one day. Forward thinkers like Al Globus are adding voice to the concept that planning for space supercolonies of the 31st century needs to begin in the 21st century.
One of the nice things about space colonies is we know we can build them. We do not have to violate any physical laws, we know it. It's within the engineering parameters of materials that we have in hand, although we would definitely like to get some better materials. We know how to do the transportation, we know how to do the communication, we know how to generate the energy we need. That it's a matter of will, not a matter of ability. We can do it, we just really need to want to do it in order to accomplish it.
In the millions of years before the sun dies, mankind's burden is to develop the technology which not only takes the human race into space, but takes nature with us. From the tiniest microbes to nature's biggest animals, nature's supercolonies, mankind's supercolonies, ultimately heading for the same fate.
There's no way for the rest of life to get up there without our help or somebody just like us. Nobody can build the rocket ships, nobody can build the pressure vessels, but we can. And we really, in some sense, have an obligation to do so. Otherwise, this life is stuck on this earth forever until it's exterminated one way or another.
After a millennia of natural evolution, the irony is not lost that eventually the continued growth of wild colonies will be dependent on tech supercolonies.